talked about it yesterday, just that chip on your shoulder. Everyone talking about a neutral AFC championship game, not even thinking about you guys. How much did that motivate you coming into this?
You better send those refunds.
I'm from the city where they gotta play us. Fuck a coin flip, it's time to pay up. Don't cross the middle, 21 in the cut. We ain't hiding from nobody, run and tell them it's up. I'm from the city where they gotta play us. Fuck a coin flip, it's time to pay up. Don't cross the middle, 21 in the cut. We ain't hiding from nobody, run and tell them it's up. Back-to-back champs, kings of the north with it. Thinking they can hang with us, still ain't jumped out the porch with it. Long bomb to chase every Sunday, watch him go and get it. Double up on him, then we gon' double down on T. Higgins. Then throw Boyd in the mix, now you really iffy. Every Sunday showing boys how to really gritty. They try to shuffle up the game on us, but they ain't icky. Flip the coin, kick the toe right to the go and get it. Never know what's gonna happen when Joe drop back. He get shiesty in the pocket, I get shiesty on the track. Nobody on the team all pro, that's all cap. Most all around team in the NFL, that's all fact. Ain't came across nobody yet that seem like they can hang with us. They said we couldn't be Buffalo, but see how we call they bluff. Underdogs every week, they keep on trying to label us. Put your money on us, even if Vegas don't favor us. No matter what, we really came up, now it's hard to fail. I dare you come across that middle, Von gon' ring your bell. I know we under they skin, them boys built frail. Eli Apple out there chirping like a next tail. You don't want Salmon Trey to come off them ends. Rita clogging up the middle like a big body Benz. Right behind them Logan and Pratt, the turnover twins. Jesse Bates in the backfield just to clean up the loose ends. We just drafted Cam and drafted Hill. Instant gratification every time that they on the field. We can't go back to what we was, cause that's the loser way. It's been hard to throw on us since we picked up a Woozier. It's like win after win, feel like we could really do it. Zach Taylor doing his thing for the city, I give it to him. And I bet Samaji will find a hole if you give it to him. Hayden Hurst don't need a hole, he just plan on running through him. Just hand it off to 28 and let him do the dash. Getting hit by BJ Hill probably feel like a car crash. Every week it seem like Lou digging deeper in his bag. And if the game on the line, all my favorite money match. I'm from the city where they gotta play us. Fuck a coin flip, it's time to pay up. Don't cross the middle, 21 in the cut. And we ain't hiding from nobody, run and tell them it's up. I'm from the city where they gotta play us. Fuck a coin flip, it's time to pay up. Don't cross the middle, 21 in the cut. And we ain't hiding from nobody, run and tell them it's up.
What do we say, Dolph?
That's right, y'all. They got to play us. What's going on? Welcome to the show. This is Sports with Strawberry Ice. I'm your host, the Iceman, Jeff Trunapole. And as always, I'm bringing you sports from a West Side point of view right here in the great city of Cincinnati, Ohio, home of the University of Cincinnati Bearcats, who are going to start their inaugural season in the Big 12 against Eastern Kentucky tomorrow at 3:30. I cannot wait. Now, do me a favor, if you found the show, hit that like and subscribe button. Smash that thumbs up. You guys are awesome. I'm up to 2,332 subscribers. As always, I appreciate every single one of you guys. If you're watching on Facebook or Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, and you haven't subscribed to my channel, why not? Please do so. Please go to the YouTube channel Sports with Strawberry Ice. Hit the subscription button, hit the bell for notification, and every time I go live, you'll be notified. Also, exclusively in the YouTube chat crew, we're doing super chat. So if you got a question you're dying to ask Jim Kelly about the Bearcats, or you just want to support the show, give me a super chat. I would greatly appreciate it. And as always, I'm coming to you live from this glorious place down here. It's the Ice Cave, and the Ice Cave is brought to you by T Properties. T Properties, quality housing for quality people. Check out their website at www.tpropertiesllc.com for all your rental property management needs and your rental needs. And you know what? We're talking Bearcats today, but Jackpot Joe is back on the field. He's going to be up in Cleveland playing. If you guys want any of the gear, we got the hats, the shirts, the banners, any of that stuff. Go to jackpotjoey9.com. The beer is at Brink Brewery. Portions of the proceeds all go to the Joe Burrow Hunger Relief Fund and the Joe Burrow Foundation. What is up to everybody in the chat? Strangers in there. What's going on? Brad's in there. And Todd is in there. And Kevin. Kevin just made it in time. There you go, Kevin. So we got the usual suspects here for Bearcat Nation. I'm excited. I cannot wait till tomorrow. Football started. Let's get to Jim Kelly. Jim, what's going on, my man?
Hey, I'm good, Ice. How you doing, Jeff? Doing okay?
Good. I am ready for some football. I will tell you that. I'm so excited. I got to watch the Gators get destroyed by Utah last night, a future Big 12 team. But that just whet my appetite. Like tomorrow, they're shutting the Vine Street down, or Short Vine down. They have a big block party down there. The game's sold out. I'm fired up. You and Dan are going to be on there. It's football, man. I'm ready. How you feeling about the season?
Yeah, so it's interesting. First games are always a little tough to judge. You could throw a whole bunch of different reasons on why this one's even tougher. You've got a new coach. You've got an opponent you haven't played in a few years. An FCS opponent that's a good FCS opponent, maybe one of the best quarterbacks you might see all year. Although that being said, to go to the next thing that's a little different this year would be the Big 12.
Yeah.
So you're going to have some good quarterbacks there as well. Not to mention 22 transfers that have not played a game for the Bearcats yet. So you're looking at a whole lot of different things, but the excitement is there. I think you hit on a bunch of those things. The stadium sold out. I love the idea. They did it one time last year of shutting down Short Vine. They're doing it 5 games this year. Going to be a blast up there, and the weather tomorrow is going to be exactly what you would want for that kind of party. And then secondly, for the football game starting at 3:30 against Eastern Kentucky. So a lot to talk about. And, back to your point on Joe Burrow, good to see him out on the practice field this week. So all feels right in the universe today.
Exactly. Now, speaking of the quarterback position for the Bearcats, we have a new quarterback. He's a transfer, Evan Prater, who was a quarterback with the incumbent we thought is going to be wide receiver. But let's talk about the new quarterback we have, and I can't think of his name right now.
Emory Jones.
Thank you, Emory Jones. I do that. I'm getting old, Jim. I start forgetting names.
Okay, so one of the things when you look at Emory's past, you say, okay, he was at Florida for 2 years. Well, he started at Florida for 2 years. He started at Arizona State for a year. And you might say, okay, what's wrong with this guy that he's transferred now for the 3rd time? Well, both at Florida and secondly at Arizona State, those coaching staffs got whacked.
Yep.
And as is the case these days, generally, when you take over a team, you bring a quarterback in or you find somebody that meets your style. And that's exactly what happened to Emory Jones. And that's exactly what Scott Satterfield was looking for. If you go back and you look at Malik Cunningham, who was his quarterback at Louisville for the last few years, he wants that dual threat running, passing quarterback. And he's got that in Emory Jones, a good sized young man, 6'3", about 200 pounds, very, very quick, but he's a good thrower. So he's not just a running threat. What he really does with his legs better, now that I got to watch him all through summer camp, is extend the pocket if he needs to. Not necessarily want to take off with the ball. He's still trying to throw the ball down the field, but he can get out if there is pressure up the middle or even off the edge. He can buy himself some time and try to find some of these receivers down the field. But he's going to be a good one. And this is his last year. A lot of the transfers that are here, and we'll talk about some of those as we go here, are seniors. So, you're letting these young guys that are new to the program kind of get their feet wet, so to speak, while these transfers play. But a lot of senior leadership and, not the segue to the wide receivers. I'll let you run that. But you're looking at a group that's caught about 370 passes at the Power 5 level. The problem is it's not really a problem, but the difference is they have not caught a pass as a Cincinnati Bearcat yet.
Right.
But a lot of guys there that can really catch the football.
Yeah, no, that was a good segue because I was going to bring that because basically a brand new wide receiver room. The 2 top guys went to the NFL draft last year. Prater is, like I said at the beginning of the show, is moving from quarterback to receiver. Yep. But all these guys that they're coming in are legit Power 5 wide receivers. They just haven't caught one as far as Emory Jones. Now, did I hear you say that on Mo's show yesterday that Emory and these guys have been in the same circles or something like that, so they know each other?
So the one thing, college football has changed. When I played, and we won't go back that far, but you finished spring ball and you were allowed to lift weights, but you were not allowed to work out with a coach. You could grab me being a receiver, I could grab a quarterback and say, hey, let's go out and throw some footballs. And you do that on your own. Well, the rules have changed a little bit where they can go do some things. And one of the things that Emory Jones, he's a Georgia young man. Right. He comes from Georgia. And kind of how he got here was he and Malik Cunningham, who we talked about a second ago, who was Louisville's quarterback under Scott Satterfield, used the same non-college, but kind of like trainer, I guess you would call it, quarterback trainer. So they were in those same circles. So you got to have guys that catch the passes. So you're looking at, with Malik Cunningham, you got D. Wiggins and Braden Smith, who were both at Louisville last year and caught a bunch of passes. You got Xavier Henderson, who was at Florida with Emory. So all these guys were together, and some of them were here for spring ball. Others did not get picked up in the transfer portal to there was a last opening after spring ball. But what they've been able to do is know each other for a little bit of time anyway, maybe not great chemistry on the field, but once they all got here, they're able to work out together,
right,
and really are able to build that. So it's not like, okay, when they got to Camp Higher Ground on August 3rd, it's the first time that Emory Jones threw a pass to D. Wiggins.
Mm-hmm. Right.
They've got some chemistry between them. And I got to tell you, the wide receiver room, you hit on it with Trey Tucker and Tyler Scott, leaving and leaving for the NFL, and other guys leaving in the transfer portal. Will Pauling, I was reading yesterday, looks like he's going to start at Wisconsin. He's gone. So there was a lot of people gone. Chris Scott is the one receiver that's back from last year, but everybody else is new. So you're looking at that and you're saying, my God, what are they going to do wide receiver? Well, Scott Satterfield felt the same way when he took the job in December. And what he did, he and his staff, he went out and assembled a wide receiver room that honestly, I've not seen at Cincinnati. I'm sure there's better out there in the NCAA, but this group is really, really good and really, really deep. And to piggyback on the comment you made about Evan Prater, he's a guy that's moved over there. He had shoulder injury in the spring, couldn't throw. Didn't really get a chance at quarterback. And, Coach Satterfield sat down with him and his parents and said, look, here's, you can have some surgery, come back and try to win the quarterback spot next year, or we can move you to wide receiver. And I have to tell you, they moved him there, and he is a natural. He's just a great athlete, as everybody knows. He's 6'4", 212, 210 pounds, very fast, very quick, and can do things that, your typical first month wide receiver can't do. So he's going to be fun to watch, and he's in the mix. They'll go 6, 7, 8 deep at the wideout spot, and they don't drop off a bit when they get to number 8 over number 1.
That's awesome. And again, going into the Big 12, Big 12 is known for offense. And that's one thing under Luke Fickell, we were more known for defense. So going into this, our defense has been the more of the powerful side of the ball historically for the Bearcats. Now, hearing all this depth and everything they got on the offense side, which is great because that's more what Satterfield is. Satterfield is more of an offensive guy. Now, my thought is with the guys that they still have on the defense, I think that's going to help keep us in games, until the offense gets together, because there's a whole bunch of new guys on there. It might not click right away, and maybe it will. I don't know, but having that defense as a stability there, I think is a big help. What's your thoughts on the defense coming back this year?
Yeah, I mean, if you look, just on paper, as far as the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball coming into not spring ball. Let's take summer ball.
Right.
The defense clearly is the better side of the football. You can go 3 deep at the defensive front, those 3 guys lining up, and we're talking Dante Corleone, we're talking
Godfather.
We're talking Jawan Briggs, Eric Phillips. Guys that have been here, and when you get to the guys behind them, which is what they want to do, is spell those guys, those first 3 guys, so that they can be fresh the entire game. They're going to be able to do that. Their linebackers, they picked up 2 transfer from Power 5 programs, and you got Jack Dingle, who was a freshman last year, showed a lot of promise, will be starting at that position, one of the linebacker positions as well. And then you get into the secondary, and you got 3 or 4 guys there that played a lot of football here. And then you look at Deshaun Pace, who Brian Brown is the defensive coordinator, who came from Louisville, and they led the nation in sacks last year. So Deshaun Pace is playing a position that's called the star. And for a best way of describing it, is kind of a hybrid linebacker, strong safety position.
Right.
You're going to see him do a lot of things.
He's going to have a good year, I think. I'm looking for him to be a breakout this year.
I agree. They've got him in a position where, he can do a lot of different things. He's going to have a bunch of sacks. You'll see him in the right situation coming off the edge. And, and honestly, we'll get in East Kentucky here in a little bit. they've got a great quarterback who gets the ball out fast. So Deshaun Pace is going to be a key tomorrow, both in his coverage and his ability to attack the quarterback. But the defensive side is clearly the side that would be ahead, and that showed a little bit early out at Camp Higher Ground. But as those days out there and then the days that they've been back on campus kind of tick off here, the offense has gotten better and better and better.
That's good. Now, your question here from Brad, and I kind of want to notice myself. He said, how do you think we will be in the running game? Because we've been talking passing and quarterbacks and wide receivers. Yep. How's our run game look?
Yeah, and Brad hits a very, very good point there. Twofold. Number one, I think we're solid at running back. Corey Kiner will get the start, and we'll see Miles Montgomery. We'll see Ryan Montgomery, and that might be it for tomorrow. And at this particular point in time, Coach Satterfield is saying running back by committee. But honestly, I believe if one of those guys, has a breakout game or steps up, he'll be the go-to guy at least until, he isn't the go-to guy.
Right.
So from that standpoint, they want to run the football. I know I talked about passing first, about quarterback and receivers, and that's just kind of the glory spots on the offense.
Well, isn't that what Satterfield's known for too? Is more throwing the ball around the running, so that's kind of a natural thing.
Yep, no doubt about it. But if they can run the football, and let's throw Emory Jones in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
he's a weapon as well, and we've seen that with Desmond Ridder a few years back.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't really want him to run, but as you saw, he could do things with his legs. And then after a while, it was like, you know what? We're wasting this guy back there. Now, we don't want to get him hurt, but let's run him. And they were able to do that. And I think you'll be able to do that with Emory Jones. And, this is only the first opponent, but they did give up over 220 yards a game last year on the ground. In their FCS playoff game against Gardner Cobb, they gave up over 400 yards on the ground. Now, they also lost 8 starters.
Right.
So you would say to yourself, well, if they did that with 8 starters gone, or they did that with 8 guys last year that aren't there anymore, they're really going to be bad. As Coach Satterfield and I talked about the other night, he said, you know what? Losing those 8 guys when you're giving up 400 yards on the ground can't be bad.
Right.
I don't know how good these guys are, but they did give up a lot of yardage on the ground, Eastern Kentucky. So the running game's good. But the one key here, and this is kind of the number 2 when we're talking about the running game, and honestly, if I had to pick a weak spot in the whole entire Bearcat roster, it would be the offensive line. Not that the 5 guys that aren't going to be in there starting aren't good players, but they just came together in the spring and throughout the summer. And if there's one spot where you need to be, on the same page all the time, it's the offensive line.
Yeah, we know that from just being Bengals fans.
Absolutely. I mean, the parallel there is 100% identical.
Right.
Look what they were able to do with a good offensive line. You get 2 injuries down the stretch last year, and I won't say things fell apart for them because they have.
Would have been different.
Well, you all know how it ended, so we won't go there. But that's the key right there, and the depth there as well. So one of the things, if you look at, let's just look at the top 5 in the NCAA right now, the top 5 in the AP polls. Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan. We'll just leave it at those 4. Those 4 squads can go 15 deep at the O-line. Cincinnati's never got to that spot, but Luke Fickell in a couple of those years was able to get to 10, maybe 9. Right now, and that's exactly where Scott Satterfield would like to get. Maybe they're at 7 or 8, maybe 9. But that's a development situation there. As those young men, get more snaps under their belt, they're going to get better and better and better. But that offensive line right now is the key. And the one thing that it is now, again, if you're on the same page, it's a little easier to pass block and give Emory Jones some time than it is the run block. So they're going to need to really step up, and time will tell. I think it's really, really helpful that East Carolina, or I keep saying East Carolina, get me out of the American Conference. Eastern Kentucky did give up a lot of yards on the ground last year.
So let's do a little game preview of Eastern Kentucky, and you see what. I mean, I think it's gonna be a win. I honestly think it's gonna be a pretty easy win. Maybe I'm too optimistic. I don't know, but what's your thoughts of going keys to the game, players to look out for on Eastern Kentucky, and just what do you think the Bearcats are going to do?
Yeah, I don't know a lot about them. Again, they lost a lot they lost both. They had 2 stud wide receivers they lost. But again,
I know Zappy came from them a couple years ago.
Yeah, exactly. And the one thing that they do have, and I mentioned him briefly, not by name, and let me get his name right here. It's Parker McKinney. He is a 4-year starter for them. It's in his 6th year, like so many people are through the COVID years, and because of because of redshirt years and so on. He threw for almost 3,970 yards last year and 33 touchdowns. And he was being now that the transfer portal is open, you can actively recruit. A lot of time it used to be that you had to let that guy come to you. Well, that's not the case anymore.
Now you go after him, yeah.
Yeah, he was offered by a bunch of FBS schools, and he said, no, I'm staying in Eastern Kentucky to finish the job that I did. He's a big guy. He's 6'3", 212 pounds. He throws the ball, gets the ball out really, really fast. But the pressure, and this is where Brian Brown, the defensive coordinator, and going back to Deshaun Pace, where they're going to have to mix things up because he gets the ball out of his hands so fast.
Right.
And they're going to have to tackle well as also. But he was 68% completion percentage last year, 33 touchdown passes, which is a lot, and almost 4,000 yards. So he's your key. They got 2 new wideouts that supposedly are very, very good. Haven't seen them play yet. Again, they lost 2 guys last year that in the season last year had between the 2 of them. One had 60, one had 70 catches, 60-some and 70.
Right.
So I can't tell you a whole lot beyond that because with 8 new starters on defense, I don't really know who's
well, and that's the thing I find going into college football now, even with the Bearcats, with the transfer portal, it's hard to keep up with who went where, who's on what team, and all that. So yeah, that's the thing I find the most difficult right now at the beginning of the season is figure out who's on what team now.
Yeah, well, so think of it this way. Let's go back, I don't know, and you're maybe not old enough for this. Let's just say 15 years ago, okay? You had your favorite NFL team. And in your case, obviously, the Bengals. So that Bengals camp would come around and maybe there was the draft choices and maybe one free agent signing, but the team was the team, right? You knew who these guys were. Right. And maybe Carson Palmer was getting at the end of his career, and that they needed another quarterback. But those guys were there, and you knew there'd be some replacements, but it was your team.
Right.
It's not like that anymore in college football.
Nope.
I mean, and the one thing I liked about college football is you had that same feeling, but you only had it for 4 years,
right,
or 5 years,
right.
But you had all along the way new guys coming in.
But you had your same core guys.
Yeah, I got this guy who's starting as a sophomore.
Right.
I really like him. He's going to be around for 3 more years.
Yeah,
or for two more years after this year. Right. That's not the case anymore.
Nope.
And I heard this last night. I've read a couple of articles, and I heard somebody say it. If Deion Sanders is successful with what he's trying to do, which is basically gutting the team, getting rid of almost everybody and bringing in, 70-some new players. If he wins, that's going to be what everybody in college football does next year. Not everybody, but there's going to be a wave in that direction.
I mean, it's a quick, easy way to try to get to be good if it works.
Yeah, well, I think he felt he had to be desperate, or had to do something desperate, and I personally, and this is not me saying Deion's not going to be successful because Lord knows I don't know, but I don't like that approach. I think there's something to be said about having experience and guys that have played together, have that family atmosphere, to use a term that's used a lot that Deion hates, culture. He doesn't care about culture. He just wants quality players that like to succeed.
Right.
But I think there is something to be said for playing together and for culture. We'll see how it works out for Colorado.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Luke Fickell built that here. I mean, that's what I think really propelled this team to the playoffs, a couple years ago. Now, with that being said, because I was. Were you shocked or surprised that Fickle left for Wisconsin? Because I thought if he wasn't leaving for Notre Dame, that it would be Ohio State or nothing else. And with us going into the Big 12 this year, I'm like, all right, this is what you've been looking for. We're going to get up to. We're going to be in a Power 5 conference, yada yada yada. You can really see what you can do. Now I know Wisconsin has more money, better. I don't know if they have better football facilities than us now or not, because UC's got some pretty damn good football facilities. But it is Wisconsin, it's the Big 10. Were you surprised that he left for Wisconsin?
So the answer to that question, I'll agree with you. Yes. Now, when he took the job, and you hit it right on the head, Notre Dame and Ohio State, those are two jobs that clearly, if they opened up, he would have taken. But I threw a couple other ones in there because he was such a Big Ten guy.
Right.
I threw Wisconsin in there, Iowa, and maybe Penn State. And one of the other ones, and they are Big Ten now. They used to be, I guess you go back to the Big 8 or the Southwest Conference, Nebraska.
Right.
Just those programs are, those are, to go back and use an old expression, the 3 yards in a cloud of dust Big Ten programs.
Right.
So those were ones that I thought. However, I would agree with you that I thought, okay, going to the Big 12, which he really wanted, would be something that he would embrace.
Mm-hmm.
And something happened with the Notre Dame thing. Okay. I mean, we know why he didn't take it. Yeah. He was so focused on Alabama.
Right.
And he, he uses the same terms that Wisconsin. I live under a rock. I don't pay attention to anything going on. Well, we know he does.
We know that's not completely true.
Yeah. And he asked Notre Dame to hold on, and this is, they didn't include me in the conversation, but
right.
The story. And he thought they would, as so did Brian Kelly going back years ago. Mm-hmm. And they wouldn't. And we all know what took place there. And somehow along the way, he decided, I'm not going to let that happen again.
Right.
So last year, even the feel was different. The team was clearly different. They were not the 21 team. They really weren't. Mm-hmm. And you could feel that, even though, and I think you made a good point, what got them to the national semifinal game in 2021, a lot of it was talent, but a lot of it was that culture that you talked about.
Right.
I've never seen a group like that. Coach Fickle did a phenomenal job, and you hear people talk about it all the time, but they kind of do it halfway. We talk about it and we try to get you guys to like each other, but at the same time, it wasn't done, at least the programs I've seen, as well as what Coach Fickle did. But something happened there. It is a good program there. He'll do fine there. But it was a little bit different. And just to kind of put a cap on that is I was a bit surprised. Yes.
Yeah, I was surprised. I mean, look, Fickle been here 6 years. That's the longest any of the successful coaches that we've had have been here. Now people always ask, well, does that make UC a stepping stone? I still don't consider it a stepping stone. I mean, every time somebody's left, I mean, they go to like a top 5 program. It's here Notre Dame, Michigan State, Wisconsin. I mean, it's not like you're leaving for little sisters of the poor. So you're not moving up to get your next job. You're moving up from here to the job that you basically want. Now, with that being said, with UC going into the Big 12 and getting into a power conference, does that make this that job for Satterfield? Is this his big time job? Because he was in Louisville, and there, from what I've heard, that administration there is a mess. I think that had a lot to do with why Satterfield wanted to leave or they were parting ways. But does move to the Big 12, does that make UC the I won't say upper echelon, because we're not going to be Ohio State, we're not going to be Wisconsin. They got too much history, too much other stuff. But we're going to be like right 1A down below them. Is that what the moving to the Big 12 does for UC?
Well, I think so. I mean, it opens a lot of doors. The financial side of it, we all know what goes on there with TV money, and the coverage you're going to get as far as national coverage with combination of ESPN and Fox is huge.
Right.
So it's going to help your program. You mentioned their facilities before. They're already in the process, and I was down there yesterday, and you can see the progress being made on their indoor facility.
Yep.
Which is going to be state of the art. And the one that they're copying, not necessarily copying, but they went out and looked at all the Big 12 facilities, or a good number of them. And the one, I guess, that stands out, and I've never been there. I've been to the campus and I've been to the football stadium, but I've never been to the indoor facility, is TCU in Fort Worth.
Mm-hmm.
And, and there's a program. Gary Patterson came there. I don't remember exactly how many years he was there, maybe 18. He came there, 18 years ago, and everybody thought, okay, he'll be here 2-3 years like the last 4 or 5 guys and get fired. He was there 18 years. Mm-hmm. Now, he wasn't coaching last year when they made it to the championship game, but he's the one that got him there.
Yep.
So it doesn't have to be a stepping stone. Mm-hmm. Mike Gundy at Oklahoma State, they were the doormat for a long time. And now I'm telling you what, I'm looking forward to going to Stillwater, but I know what, you're going to be in one whale of a ball game.
Oh, yeah. He's a hell of a coach. I like Gundy a lot.
Texas Tech, same thing. Mm-hmm. When Tuberville was there for a while, and they were okay. They moved the football a lot. But at the same time, they were never somebody that you worried about. And I will say this, I think the Big 12 has changed. That now they still are an offensive league, but defense is all of a sudden a little bit more prevalent there.
Right.
And the fact that Oklahoma and Texas are leaving, I think those are 2 huge names that'll hurt it a little bit. But I like you, watched Utah last night. Boy, are they rolling.
Yeah, they look good.
That is a powerhouse now. And we talked about Colorado a little bit. I don't know what's going to happen there. And then we got Arizona and Arizona State coming in as well. Right. So if you look at it from just the name standpoint, it's going to be a huge conference. It's already a big move. I was looking down that schedule and I got a Big 12 release yesterday, and it shows all Big 12 games. And I just go down school after school after school, and holy cow, this is big time football.
Right. Yeah, this is going to be a big step up in competition for sure. I wish we would have had this when Desmond and all those guys are still here. We had that team going against her. That would have been nice. But, I mean, who's to say that this team can't be successful? And people ask me this a lot on here. How good do I think the Bearcats are going to do? And it's like, I honestly, with all the transfers we talked about, and the team and the new coach and going into a new conference, it's kind of hard to figure it out for me anyway. But Jim, I think they're at least going to get 6 wins. I think they're at least going to get bowl eligible. Now, and if they are your first year in the Big 12, I think that's a winning season. I
would agree with you. And they got a little bit lucky in reference to the way that the schedule played out. Mm-hmm. They have 7 home games, which is always helpful. The Nippert Stadium is one that not easy to play in. Nope. They got, Oklahoma there, which is, certainly going to be a tough one. But there's a couple of games on the road there's a couple of teams that they play on the road, namely BYU, who wasn't great last year. Now they'll be better this year, but you could win that one. West Virginia, you could knock them off on the road. Not to mention, you've got Baylor, who had a down year last year, coming into Nippert. You've got Iowa State coming into Nippert. Both those teams had down years, a little bit down years. So you've got an opportunity. You're going to have to play well to win those games, but I think 6 is certainly within reason. And then if you look at this, and here's another big thing that the Big 12 makes a difference. Okay, Oklahoma goes 6-7 last year, counting their bowl loss, right? Mm-hmm. Texas goes 6-6 during the regular season, 7-5. What bowl games do they get being mediocre in the Big 12? One goes to the Alamo Bowl in San Antonio. Yep. The other one goes to the Capital One Bowl in Orlando, Florida. Now, picture the middle of the road or 6-6 teams in the American. Where are we going? Not to knock it by any means. We're going to Birmingham, or we're going back to Annapolis, or we're going to the Boston, to the Fenway Bowl.
We're going to go to bowl games where the other team halfway through wants to quit because of a lightning storm. What was that? That was
Boston College down at the Papa John's, the Birmingham Bowl.
Birmingham Bowl, that's what that was. Yeah, we won't have to deal with that. These teams will want to play us.
Yeah, they will. Yeah, we could go on and on and on and on about the advantages of the Big 12, but it's going to be a fun ride. I'm looking forward to it. My only negative is that I only get to go to one new stadium this year, and that's Oklahoma State. I was hoping to get to Texas first of all, in Austin before they leave. Right. That didn't happen. Texas Tech will be nice to see. Not to mention, I've been to Arizona State. I've been to Colorado. I've been in the Utah Stadium. Never done a game there. I just walked through it once. So anyway, I'm looking forward to all that.
Absolutely. Now, one thing I've noticed after next year, when Texas and Colorado leave, I think you got a lot of teams in the Big 12 that are pretty much all on the same level. There isn't any blue bloods. I mean, Oklahoma and Texas are blue bloods as far as college football goes. Big 12 won't have any. I mean, you got a lot of the newer ones. I mean, BYU's, they've had good ones. I mean, there's teams that have had, don't get me wrong, there's teams that have had good history and stuff, but not like what we're losing, which I find interesting because that to me almost makes this conference more even than, say, the Big Ten or the ACC. Like, they're all the same playing field, it seems like to me, more than the rest of the conferences.
I would agree with you there. So, let's say Oklahoma and Texas are gone. Okay, they're in the SEC. Without question, the SEC becomes the number one football conference in the country. Without question.
Yeah.
You're going to make the argument that the Big Ten's number 2 and that the Big 12 would be number 3. ACC behind them at 4, and whatever happens, there won't be any Pac-12.
Pac-12, yeah. Who knows what happens to that? But
now, that being said, to your point, pull Texas and Oklahoma out of there, which quite honestly are very mediocre right now, too.
Right.
Everybody can compete with each other. Mm-hmm. As opposed, let's go to the SEC first, our number 1. What's going to happen to Vanderbilt? What's going to happen to South Carolina? There's probably a couple more depending on the year.
What's going to happen to Texas and Oklahoma? I mean, their schedule is going to be ridiculous compared to what they've had to do before. Which, look, Jim, I understand why they're going because of the money, but and that's the only reason they're going there. Because as far as football goes, they shouldn't go there because they're making it twice as hard on them to get to the championship, to get to the playoff. I mean, they're going to beat each other up.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt about it. Honestly, it's for the money. Mm-hmm. Texas A&M's having a rough time of it, and I've read a few things too, where they're saying, both those leagues are saying, well, not necessarily those leagues, but people that are, I guess, looking at those leagues are saying, yeah, they're going to let the bottom feeders go. Well, you cannot, if you're the SEC, you cannot let a founding member like Vanderbilt go. Mm-hmm. They are going to be there. That isn't going to happen. But you've got the same thing in the Big Ten right now. I mean, Indiana really, really scraping bottom right now. Northwestern, with all the stuff going on up there, they've got their problems. Nebraska played a good game last night against Minnesota, but it was Minnesota. So they've got those guys at the bottom there. Throw Rutgers in there, throw Maryland in there. All those teams have good years every once in a while. Yeah. But a good year for them is 8-4. Right. They're not going to challenge Ohio State, Michigan State, Penn State. So, I don't know what's going to happen.
That's where I'm like, as a fan, though, like, let's just say you're a Rutgers football fan. You have no shot ever of doing anything there in the Big Ten. And I mean, that to me is like, so that's where all these super conferences, I keep waiting for the like I said, the bottom feeder ones going, and the fans just not showing up because we're going to go get our butts kicked anyway. Like, okay, the novelty of seeing Ohio State come is wore off, and of them coming to their place. Eventually, that's going to wear off. Eventually, people are going to say, "Screw it! I mean, we have no shot. Why am I going to support my school that I've loved forever?" Which, I understand that the love, but eventually you're tired of getting your head kicked in. That's where I think the next evolution of this is, and that's where I like what the Big 12 is. That I don't think. I mean, there are going to be bottom feeders, but I think it's going to be a lot of teams that move up one year, move back down. It's just more even. Is just how I feel about it.
I would agree. I mean, so in going through the media days down in Dallas with the Big 12, West Virginia was getting a lot of negative press. Okay, mm-hmm. Now if you look at what they did, they won 3 of their last 4 games last year, even though they did not have a great year. And you would think, okay, everybody's picked them to kind of finish last in the league. Well, let's say they go 9-3 this year, which they could.
Right.
Your point's well taken. Somebody's got to be that 4-8 team, okay? Right. Because you're playing a league, you're playing 9 league games, and if you're losing, then you're going to lose 2 league teams, and you're going to, your losses are going to be down there. So, but I agree with you. I think it's from top to bottom, and even with Oklahoma and Texas in there, mm-hmm. It is probably the league that's the most consistent. And now, we didn't talk much about the ACC, but what they did, I believe, yesterday or the day before, sometimes I'm a day late, is, adding Cal, Stanford, and SMU, which makes no sense to me.
Yeah, the SMU, I understood Cal and Stanford. SMU, I'm like, really?
Yeah. And you just wonder now, does that open the door for Florida State and Clemson to bail to maybe the SEC or wherever they might go?
And again, to me, Jim's like, not everybody can go to the SEC. I mean,
no.
I mean, that's the thing. I'm like, the SEC is by far the best football conference already. You're going to add Texas and Oklahoma. And then if Florida State and them go there, it's like, again, you're not going there for football reasons. You're going there for money because you guys are not everybody's going to win.
You're going there for $55 million a year is what you're going there for.
I get it, but eventually your fan base is going to be like, screw this. I'm tired of getting my head kicked in and not winning anything. That's just, that's just where, as a fan, that's where I'm at with this. And I just can't.
Well, and that brings us back to Cincinnati, which is why their games are sold out this year. And that's the fact that they've been winning for the last bunch of years, and that they are going to be a very competitive team, even with all these new players, and they're going to be fun to watch.
Exactly. I cannot wait. Like I said, I've told you on the show before, I remember going to Nippert when nobody was there, and Tim Murphy was the coach. You could basically walk in. So to see from where it was when I went to college there to where it is now is freaking awesome. Jim, you've been on for 41 minutes. I appreciate it. Do me a favor where you're not on the broadcast, but when you see Tony Pike there, he's been kind of avoiding me, trying to tell me, you got to go on Ice's show because, Dan's been on, you've been on a couple of times. Tony Pike, I don't know. He just hasn't been able to get on the show. So you got to give him some crap for me.
Okay. Well, Tony's back on the sideline for us for home games anyway.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
I will put that bug in his ear tomorrow.
I appreciate you, Jim. Sounds like fun. Good luck. Jeff. Have fun this season. And I definitely want to get you back on before the season's over.
Okay, sounds good, Jeff. Thanks.
All right, Jim. Take it easy, buddy. Thank you.
You too.
All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Look, Jim Kelly is awesome. He's a great dude. Does a good job with him and Dan Horde on the Bearcat broadcast. Like I said, Tony Pike is the sideline reporter. They are playing tomorrow at 3:30 at Nippert. If you can't go down, which, the game's sold out, I'm thinking about going down tailgating and then going over to Short Vine and watching the game there, which if you don't know what they got going on, Short Vine, they got Short Vine closed. So it's basically like the door area at the banks where they got it closed. They're going to have a big screen with the game on. You can eat and drink and have fun with other Bearcat fans. That's a cool thing to do. If you don't want to do that, it is on ESPN Plus at 3:30. Now, say what you will about ESPN Plus. Hopefully, we won't have that many games on ESPN Plus there this year since we're in the Big 12, but we'll see. Anyway, 3:30 tomorrow. I cannot wait for football. Like I said, I would be very curious to see how this team looks. Just because I don't know. Because I legitimately just don't know. I've got the defense is going to be, I think, good because the defense is basically the same. It's the offense and Coach Satterfield's offense. Is he, with him being the offensive guy that I've heard, is he going to come in and throw the ball around like Brian Kelly did? And I know Brian Kelly's a touchy subject, but I will never forget this. We were in the, I want to say Toronto Bowl or something, and Brian Kelly came in and because Antonio left and went to Michigan State. So Brian Kelly came in and ran the bowl game. And we went from a running team to a throwing team in a month. And watching Brian Kelly have them throw the ball all over the place was eye-opening because before that, I've never seen a Bearcat team throw the ball that much. That's what I'm kind of wondering if that's what's going to happen Saturday. Because let's be honest, Fickle was a run-first coach. Satterfield's a throw the ball around coach. So the offense, how different is it going to look? Because the Big 12 is an offensive league. So that's where it fits what Satterfield does, I think. And those are the things I think is going to be interesting to watch. Anyway, appreciate you guys. Let me get to the Facebook groups that let me live stream. I appreciate every single one of you guys there. Houday Nation, Houday Legion, Bearcat Ruckus, Radical Reds, the Ohio State Bucknuts, the Ice Bar, and then you can follow me on all my social media platforms, all under Sports with Strawberry Ice on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, TikTok, and Threads. Twitter handle is at Jeff A. Trinable. TikTok is at Iceman90. I'll be pulling a sign off later on today putting on the podcast. If you missed any of the interview with Jim Kelly, check it out. It's on BeanPod, Apple, iTunes, Spotify, Google, Stitcher Play, pretty much wherever you get your podcast. Please make sure you rate, like, and review. If you're still listening to the podcast or the show, give me a thumbs up, likes on the podcast. Give me a 5-star review. I greatly appreciate it. And as always, YouTubers, my originals, you guys are awesome. I'm up to 2,332 subscribers. Like I said, I appreciate every single one of you guys. I can't wait. Football is back. Where starts tomorrow in Cincinnati. UC versus Eastern Kentucky. It's going to be a blast. Other than that, you guys have a wonderful Labor Day weekend. I think I'm going to do a show Monday. Looks like Bengals coach Mark Duffner is going to be able to join me. I'm not sure at the time yet. So, again, make sure you subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, all that stuff. Once I nail down the time that Mark will be on Monday, I will tweet it out and let you guys know. So other than that, you guys have a great, safe Labor Day weekend. And that's just sports, baby. See ya!